Hello friends, Coach Bob here, and today we're going to talk about a very controversial subject, something that's a little more sensitive in nature. Anger, the beast within, that ugly thing that just comes up and boils up inside of you. Have you ever had someone do something to you, make you angry? And I mean, you are just blistering hot. You're saying things you shouldn't say, doing things you shouldn't do. And yes, you guessed it, you're doing it wrong. Is it possible for us to beat that beast down, to tame it? Or are we just destined to feed it and make it grow? Or are we just gonna hang on to it and that leads to a life of misery and bitterness? Or maybe we just do something in between. We have no plan. You know, Mark Twain said that anger is an acid that does more harm to the vessel that it's stored in than anything you could possibly pour it on. And I would say at first glance, oh, Mark Twain got it right. But is it really that simple? I think it's way more complex than that. And we're going to dive into that today, right after this. So as we get ready to talk about anger, first let me clarify something. I'm not talking about that deep-seated, difficult anger. No, I'm not talking about that. Let me tell you what I mean by that. For the people out there that have become paralyzed, debilitative diseases, life-changing diseases, a loved one has died, a child, a parent, a spouse. Those difficult times that we deal with anger, that type of anger is not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about the basic anger, the animal instinct. Anger is defined as a strong feeling of displeasure, usually of antagonism, of rage, and that's the kind of anger we're talking about today. So we know in real world terms, there is a time and a place for anger. There really is, but there's never a time and a place for uncontrolled rage. Here's a couple of examples. Your kid's doing something and they know it's wrong. You've taught them it's wrong and you get angry about it. Is that anger bad? Well, no, not if you handle it properly. Or what if a friend cheated you out of something or they lied about you? Being hurt and angry is an absolutely normal response. It's where you go with it from there. That's what makes it a good or a bad anger. The good anger is where we get angry and we use it as a catalyst to teach, to guide, to help others grow. And that is a beautiful thing. And that is the very reason that we've been given the emotion of anger. But we are intended to harness it, to use it for good, not for evil. But bad anger and fly off the handle like a fire. It grows in you when it's left unchecked. It can consume you and it can be really, really ugly. That type of anger is very recognizable, but you have to know what you're looking for. And normally that kind of anger is accompanied by certain signs and symptoms. Uncontrolled rage, spiteful revenge, foul and harsh language. You know, that would be cussing and name calling. Prolonged bitterness. And last but not least, fighting to win, no matter what the cost. Here are 5 things that you can do to deal with that type of anger. And if you're dealing with those things in your life and you see those signs and symptoms in your world, you need to address them. And you need to address them now because it can lead to huge problems. And we live in an angry world where people are constantly attacking one another and making excuses for it. 1, quit hiding behind passion. Recently, I was on social media and someone had posted a meme. I don't know if it was supposed to be inspirational or not, but basically it was an excuse. I'm short-fused and I have a temper because I'm passionate, fiery. I'm just gonna have to throw the bullcrap flag on that. If you have a short fuse, it's because you lack self-control. You react and then you apologize. You make a fool of yourself and then manipulate it and hide behind the word passion. The next time you feel anger rising up inside of you, stop and take a breath. Exercise a little self-control. If need be, let the person know you're angry. Walk away, walk into the next room and calm down. This is what we call living in grown-up land, where the hard decision is always the right one. Quit hiding behind passion. 2. When we shout and scream ugly things, we escalate an already bad situation. We set the rage in motion. We catapult it to levels that it should never be elevated to. Painful words that inflict real pain, cursings and bitterness. One of the things that seems to be very common in society today is people just throwing the F-bomb around like it doesn't matter. They think it makes them sound fiery and intelligent. But you know what it really does? It just makes them sound ugly. It makes them sound foolish. It makes them sound evil. If the only way you can make a point is to talk ugly, then you probably shouldn't be making a point. And parents, when it comes to parents, if you're talking to your children ugly, if you're using profane and vile language, you know what you're doing? You're teaching them to talk to every person for the rest of their life, just like you're talking to them. They'll be unemployable, they'll be lonely, and they'll be bitter. And not only will they have a bad life, but they will not only bring shame to them, but to their family. Quit talking ugly. And when others do, we don't have to. I know it's hard. When people call you names, it's difficult not to throw it back. But we have a higher calling. Quit talking ugly. 3. In society today, the idea of forgiveness is like a sign of weakness. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. And it is a shame, an absolute shame, that we have taken our society in this direction. When people wrong you and when they beat you up, you have a couple of responses that you can possibly fire back at them. 1 is retribution. 2, you can just carry it around and be bitter. Or 3, you can simply forgive. And after you forgive someone, you have to do number 4. So many times when we're wronged, we carry it around like a badge of honor. We use it to lift ourselves up and to beat others down. We want to win at all costs, and we don't care who it hurts in the process. It's kind of like a long-term damage that we just feel we have to do. And years later, you'll regret it. That bitterness will grow in your heart, and it'll take root, and it'll start to pour into every area of your life, from one area to another, to another, to another. And before you know it, you're beating everybody down. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. 5. Pray about it. Yeah, that's right. I said pray about it. If you struggle with faith, that's okay. Pray about it. If you're an unbeliever, pray about it anyway. Whenever you get it out and you wait for an answer, prayer is a good place to start. It helps you slow things down and deal with that anger. And who knows, you may actually get an answer. So pray about it, my friends. So there you have it. A few ways to tame the beast, to harness it, to bring it under control and have a happier life. These are deep water concepts, and they're very difficult to implement because our lives are surrounded by craziness and bad influence. We have to rise above it. We have to be what we were created to be, a people who are quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Because a hot-tempered man stores up trouble, but the slow to anger calms the dispute. You, my friends, now have the tools to do that. Now, go change the world.